the ghosts of Hallow's End. Every year when the leaves turned brittle and the winds carried a mournful tune, the village of Hallow's End braced itself. The elders called it the Night of Wandering Souls, a time when the veil between the living and the dead was at its thinnest. For as long as anyone could remember, the village had been haunted by the ghosts of those who had mysteriously vanished over the centuries. Some were taken by illness, others by accidents or tragedies, and some simply disappeared without a trace. And each Halloween, these lost souls returned. Their presence was always felt but rarely seen. Whispers echoed through the darkened streets. Lights flickered as if shadows brushed against them, and an eerie chill clung to the air. Yet this year, something felt different. There was a tension in the air, stirring deeper than ever before. Eliza's obsession. Eliza Lancaster had grown up surrounded by the legends of Hallow's End. At 16, she no longer cowered at the stories whispered by the elders, but she never dismissed them either. She had reason to believe. Her brother Peter had vanished on a cold October night when she was just 5. No one knew what had happened. No body, no clues, nothing. The night he disappeared, he had tucked her in, ruffled her hair, and promised to finish their pumpkin carving the next morning. But morning came, and Peter was gone. Since then, the village had become a place of unanswered questions and long, hollow silences. Her parents barely spoke of Peter anymore, their grief settling into their bones, making them ghosts of another kind. But it wasn't just grief, it was fear. The truth no one admitted was that Peter was the first child taken after the curse returned. The curse of Hallow's End. 200 years ago, the land Hallow's End was built upon had been sacred ground to an ancient order of mystics. The villagers, in their hunger for expansion, desecrated the burial site of the order's last priestess. From her grave, a dark promise was born. A soul every year on All Hallows' Eve, taken into the veil, would satisfy her rage. If the village ever refused, her wrath would consume them all. Over the decades, the memory faded. The stories became folklore, until Peter. No one spoke of the pact anymore, but the town kept unspoken rituals. Doors were locked early. Children were not allowed outside after dusk. But when the first soul of a new generation was taken, the pact was reawakened. Peter was chosen by fate, or perhaps by something darker, his kind heart and curious nature luring him too close to the forest's edge, where the portal pulsed beneath the soil. His disappearance terrified the town, but instead of investigating, the adults turned away, as if denying it would keep their own children safe. His parents, drowning in guilt, adopted a hollow routine of silence, doing what the town had always done, pretend. Eliza's longing. But Eliza couldn't pretend. Peter had been her light, her protector, her world. Without him, the warmth in her family vanished. Her father stopped playing music. Her mother rarely smiled. Their house, once filled with laughter, echoed only with loss. And Eliza, left with memories and shadows, began to dream of crossing into the fog, of trading her world for answers. She grew up talking to his picture, to the empty space in her room, and in time, to the wind itself, asking where he had gone. To Eliza, the world of the living felt as ghostly as the world of the dead. She did not truly want to die, but she ached for understanding, for reunion. A heart untethered by love becomes a compass for the supernatural. She didn't know it, but she was calling him. The return. As dusk fell that fateful Halloween night, Eliza noticed the familiar chill creep in. She peered out her window and saw them, faint figures gliding silently through the fog. Their faces pale and sorrowful, their eyes hollow. She watched, her breath catching, as the streets filled with ghosts. Normally the spirits would wander, their paths never intersecting with the living. But this time, one of them paused. A ghostly figure, barely more than a shadow, looked up at her. Her heart raced as recognition hit her like a wave. Peter. He looked just as he had on the night he disappeared. His brown hair tousled, his eyes wide with something she couldn't name. He raised his hand, beckoning. "Eliza," he whispered, though the words felt like they had been pulled from another world. "Come with me." The choice. Eliza's body moved before her mind could catch up. She wasn't frightened. In fact, she felt an overwhelming sense of peace. For years she had dreamed of seeing him again, of asking where he had gone, why he had left. She needed to know. Slipping quietly down the stairs and out the door, she stepped into the street. The ghosts surrounded her, their cold breath brushing against her skin, their eyes gleaming with memories of another life. Peter stood at the center of them, his hands still outstretched. "You don't have to be afraid," he said softly. "You belong with us." Eliza's heart wavered, but her hand moved toward his. She reached out, her fingers grazing his cold, ethereal form. In that moment, a rush of images flooded her mind. Fragments of the night he disappeared, shadows of the place he had gone. She saw a dark forest, twisted and ancient, a portal hidden beneath the earth, and voices, endless voices calling from the other side. "Peter, what happened to you?" she whispered, her voice trembling. His eyes, once familiar, now held something distant, something she could barely grasp. "I was taken," he said, his voice barely audible, "to the place where they all go. But I can take you there." The other ghosts, dozens of them now, circled around her, their faces contorted with longing, their hollow eyes begging for release. They weren't searching for someone. They were searching for an escape, but they could never leave the village. Eliza hesitated, her mind battling against the pull she felt from the spirits. She knew once she crossed over, she could never return. Her heart ached for Peter, but a part of her still belonged to the living world. Before she could decide, the ghosts surged forward, their icy hands grasping her arms, her legs. She gasped, feeling the cold seep into her bones. The world spun around her as the spirits drew her deeper into their embrace. "Eliza," Peter's voice echoed, "you're one of us now." The bridge. As her soul teetered on the edge, a voice unlike Peter's called out, soft, ancient, full of mourning and hope, the spirit of the priestess. "You are not like the others, child. You seek truth, not escape. You ask why, not just where." Time stopped. The ghost fell back. Even Peter looked confused. In that moment, Eliza understood. She was different. She hadn't been taken. She had been summoned, chosen. The priestess's spirit emerged from the veil, her form a swirling mix of sorrow and light. She explained the truth. The curse had never been meant to punish. It had been a plea for remembrance. The souls taken were never meant to linger. The pain of being forgotten, of desecration without apology, had kept the portal open, festering with trapped spirits. Eliza, with her boundless love and unshaken resolve, had reopened the connection not just between worlds, but between hearts. She could offer something no one else had in centuries: remembrance, reverence, and a promise to tell the truth. The priestess made an offer. One soul may leave, one soul may remain, but the rest, if you will carry their stories into the light, shall finally rest. The choice rewritten. Eliza looked to Peter. His eyes shimmered with hope and fear. "Go," he whispered. "Tell them. Set us free." Eliza's soul returned to her body with a gasp. She awoke in the street, the dawn creeping over the village. Her breath was visible in the chill, but the fog and the ghosts were gone. The end of the cycle. In the weeks that followed, Eliza told her story. She wrote down the names of the lost, spoke of the priestess, demanded that the sacred land be honored. She held a ceremony in the forest, planting flowers and laying stones for the forgotten graves. The villagers, skeptical at first, eventually followed. And that Halloween, for the first time in over 2 centuries, no souls walked the fog. Eliza stood at her window and saw only falling leaves. Peace had returned to Hallow's End. She whispered to the wind, "Good night, Peter." And for once, the wind did not whisper back.